My name is Serena Williams, and tonight, at 60 years old, I am breaking a silence I have carried since I was 7. These words will hurt me more than they hurt you. Some of you will hate me when I'm finished. Some of you will finally understand why I disappeared from the world for entire decades. But I am tired of protecting ghosts. I am tired of protecting the living, too. So listen closely, because I will only say this once. I was born in 1965 in a small house on Elmwood Lane, Willow Creek, Virginia. The house is still there. The swing on the porch still creaks in the wind like it's trying to speak. My mother died bringing me into the world, and my father, God rest him, never forgave me for it. He didn't hit me often, but when he did, it was with the quiet kind of violence that leaves no bruises for teachers to see. I learned early that love could be a weapon if you aimed it wrong. The only light in those years was Mrs. Collins, the old widow next door. She smelled of lavender and burnt sugar, and every afternoon she let me sit at her kitchen table while she baked. She told me stories about her husband who went to war and never came home. She said some people leave pieces of themselves in other people so they can live forever. I didn't understand then. I understand now. When I was 12, Elena came into our lives. My father remarried a woman with a daughter 2 years older than Misha Pied, beautiful, and already cruel. Elena hated me on sight. I was the blood child. She was the step. She made sure I never forgot the difference. She stole my diaries, read them aloud at school, poured ink on my only good dress before picture day. My father said, "She's just jealous, Serena. Be the bigger person." So I swallowed it. I swallowed everything. At 15, I met Richard Hale. He was 23 tall, quiet-spoken, with hands that could fix anything: cars, radios, broken bird wings. He worked at the gas station on Route 9 and always gave me a free Coke when I walked home from school. He looked at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. I believed him. God help me. I believed him. One October night he drove me out to Miller's Lake. The moon was huge and orange, hanging low like it wanted to listen. He kissed me in the front seat of his Chevy and told me he loved me. I gave him everything that night. Everything. 3 weeks later I was pregnant. I told my father. He slapped me so hard I saw stars. Then he actually cried and said we'd figure it out. Elena smiled behind his back like she'd won a prize. Richard said he'd marry me. He put a tiny ring on my finger and promised we'd leave Willow Creek the day I turned 16. But the night before we were supposed to go, he vanished. No note, no trace. Just the ring and a positive pregnancy test on my pillow. I had the baby alone in a charity ward in Richmond. A little girl, dark hair, gray eyes like his. They let me hold her for 30 seconds before the nurse took her away. Adoption papers were already signed. I never even gave her a name. I came home hollow. Elena greeted me with one less mistake to clean up. I wanted to kill her. Instead, I locked myself in my room for 6 weeks and planned how I would disappear the moment I turned 18. I lasted until 17. In the summer of 1982, I stole $400 from my father's sock drawer, took a Greyhound north, and never looked back. I ended up in Philadelphia, changed my last name to Carter, and started lying about everything: my age, my past, where I was from. Lies became my native language. That's where I met Daniel Williams. He was a jazz pianist with gentle hands and a laugh that made people lean in. He saw me waiting tables at a diner at 3 a.m., covered in coffee stains, and he asked if I believed in second chances. I laughed in his face. He came back every night for a month until I said yes to coffee. 6 months later, I said yes to forever. We married in 1985. I was 20, lying about being 22. Daniel never asked too many questions. Maybe that should have been the first warning. We had 2 children, Leela, in 1987, Micah, in 1990. For a while, life was soft. Daniel played gigs. I sold real estate. We bought a little brick house with a maple tree in the front yard. I told myself the past was buried. Then, in 1994, the letters started. Plain white envelopes, no return address. Inside, a single Polaroid, always, of a little girl, growing each year. On the back, written in red ink, "She looks like you." I knew who sent them. Only one person could be that cruel: Elena. She had found the adoption records. She had found my daughter. She was making sure I never forgot what I'd lost. I burned every photograph, but the images were already carved into me. In 1998, Daniel came home early from a tour and found me sitting on the bathroom floor surrounded by ashes. I told him everything, Richard, the baby, the running. I waited for him to leave. Instead, he held me until dawn and said, "We'll carry it together." I loved him so fiercely it scared me. In 2003, when I was 38, I got the call that broke the last piece of me. Mrs. Collins had died. In her will, she left me a sealed box and a letter that said, "For when you're brave enough." Inside the box, newspaper clippings from 1981, missing person, Richard Hale, last seen leaving a bar in Norfolk, foul play suspected. Witnesses said he'd been fighting with a dark-haired teenage girl hours before he disappeared. There was a grainy photo. The girl looked like me, but I knew I'd been 200 miles away, 8 months pregnant, crying in a maternity home. Someone had killed Richard Hale, and someone wanted the world to think it was me. I started having panic attacks so bad I couldn't leave the house. Daniel found me the best psychologist in the city, Dr. Aaron Blake. For 2 years I sat in his office and peeled myself open layer by layer. He taught me that guilt can live in your body like cancer if you don't name it. In 2011, Elena showed up at my door. She was dying liver cancer. She looked 60 at 48. She said she wanted forgiveness before the end. I let her in because I was tired of hating across a distance. She sat on my couch and drank my tea and told me the truth like she was reading a grocery list. She had been in love with Richard Hale too, obsessed, when he chose me. She followed him that night in 1981. She waited outside the bar. When he stumbled out drunk, she offered him a ride. He laughed at her, called her the spare, so she hit him with a tire iron, again and again. Then she rolled him into the James River and watched the current take him. She framed the fight on me because she knew I'd run. She sent the photographs of my daughter for 20 years because she wanted me to feel her watching, always watching. I asked why she was telling me now. She smiled the same smile from when we were girls and said, "Because I finally won. You'll carry this secret to your grave so your perfect family never knows what runs in the blood." She died 3 weeks later. I didn't go to the funeral. Daniel found out anyway. He read the letter she mailed the day she died. Insurance, she called it. He looked at me across the kitchen table and asked if I ever knew. I told him no. He believed me. Or maybe he just chose to. The years after were quiet on the surface. Lila got married. Micah had a son. Daniel's hands started shaking from early Parkinson's. I took care of him the way he once took care of me. In 2023, when I was 58, a woman walked into my granddaughter's birthday party, tall, gray eyes. She introduced herself as Grace Hale. She said, "I think you're my mother." My daughter had found me. We talked for 6 hours in the garden while the party went on inside. She wasn't angry. She just wanted to know why. I told her the truth, most of it. I left out the murder. Some stains don't wash off no matter how much you scrub the next generation. Daniel died last year, peacefully, in his sleep. He held my hand and whispered, "Second chances, remember." I do. Now I sit here in the same house on Elmwood Lane. I bought it back. The porch swing still creaks. Mrs. Collins's house is empty. Grace, my first daughter, visits on Sundays. We drink tea and talk about everything except the river. People ask why I'm telling this story now. Because last month the police drained a section of the James River for a new bridge. They found bones, male, early 20s, fractured skull. Richard Hale will finally have a grave. They'll come asking questions soon. I'll be ready. Here is the final truth I promised you, though, one that will make some of you turn away forever. 3 days after Elena's confession, I drove to the hospice where she lay dying. She was asleep, tubes in her arms, skin like paper. I stood over her bed and I whispered, "You didn't win." Then I took the extra pillow from the chair, the one the nurses leave for family who stay overnight, and I pressed it over her face until the machine screamed flat. She never woke up. I walked out, signed the visitor log as S. Carter, and drove home to my husband and my children, and the lie that kept us safe. So now you know, 60 years of pain, 60 years of lies, 60 years of protecting the people I love from the monster I became to save them. If you're listening to this and you judge me, I understand. If you're re-listening and you understand why a frightened girl can grow into a woman who chooses the unthinkable to keep her family whole, then carry that understanding gently. Love is not always light. Sometimes love looks like a pillow in the dark. Sometimes forgiveness is the last lie we tell ourselves so we can live with what we've done. This is Serena Williams, 60 years old, finally free of every secret except one. I am not asking for absolution. I'm asking you to look at the quiet woman sitting beside you on the bus. In the pew, in the waiting room, men wonder what she carried to survive. We all have rivers inside us. Some of us just learned how to weigh the stones. Good night.